The March 2021 Classic Tetris Monthly Masters event was historic, featuring the highest score ever in competition, which I'll be breaking down in this video along with some other incredible highlights. As always, the original broadcasts are on the Monthly Tetris Twitch channel, at least until they expire, and eventually they might be on the Monthly Tetris YouTube channel too. So, let's begin. The qualifying board was stellar as always. Incredibly, getting an average of 1.1 million scores was required to crack the top 8. And Joseph was back in the lineup, showing no signs of rust as the #1 seed with an insane average of over 1.2 million. And the first round especially had a lot going on. First-time participant Aaron beat world quarterfinalist Sam in his debut match. And of course, I gotta take a look at how the matches with the rollers went. Tegamek wasn't fully comfortable enough to roll yet in competition, so he was using Das against Joseph Saley and lost the match, but put up an impressive fight. Cheese had to face up against world finalist Pixel Andy, and in game 1 he had a big lead going into the final transition, but with rolling on full display, he just poured it on afterwards, padding his lead with more Tetrises. And Pixel Andy didn't just roll over either. He survived into level 30, but was just not able to go any further. Cheese made it all the way to the end of level 31, getting pieces to the side halfway up the board. Game 1 to Cheese. In game 2 though, Cheese got stuck in a bit of a dig after some misdrops on level 18, getting a casual mid 20 Hz roll with the long bar to the right. But in the end, even the fastest piece movement in the world couldn't save him, evening the match. Game 5, they were tied 2-2, and Pixel Andy put up a monster transition in the high 600,000s, and Cheese, more than 100,000 points behind, was playing very aggressive to catch up, building a very high dirty Tetris at the transition. Got a bit droughted and just couldn't get the long bar in, and the match went to Andy. But for game of the round, I think I'd have to go with Doge versus Nenu. Nenu, of course, needs little introduction, a former CTM champion and CTWC semifinalist in the highlight reels almost every month. Doge, on the other hand, is actually NES Tetris' biggest TikTok star, with over 750,000 likes and millions of views, expanding the scene to a whole new audience. In game 2, on the penultimate level before the final transition, Doge is coasting with a 1.5 Tetris lead and a 2.5 Tetris pace lead, along with a clean board, while Nenu has a hole at the bottom. Doge is gonna have to burn here, but it's fine for him. Nenu has to burn too to get clean again. Doge ends up stacking into an uncomfortable long bar dependent chasm in the center and has to create some holes. Nenu has gotten a center wall Tetris to transfer back over the well to the right. Doge's lead is diminishing, is going for a dirty center wall Tetris it seems, but misses a T to the right to get Tetris ready and blocks the well. And Nenu suddenly gets a Tetris into the kill screen for the victory, completing the comeback in a sudden swing of pace at the last minute. And Nenu's gonna show off some 29 play of his own, but the game's already taken care of. He's got a 2-0 lead in the series and would go on to advance. And in the round of 16, things really kicked up a notch with Joseph versus Alex Thatch. Joseph, of course, is the Tetris prodigy, already a 2-time world champion in his late teens, but he's practically an ancient veteran in comparison to Alex Thatch, who set a new world record last September for youngest ever max outer at 11 years and 304 days old. A record, scarily, that he doesn't even hold anymore. The record now belongs to Tetrisaurus at 11 years 8 months. We're moving beyond Generation Z taking over Tetris. This is moving into Generation Alpha territory. Towards the end of game 2, Joseph has a 1-game lead in the series, but is almost 100,000 points behind Alex. The pace stat is a little more promising for him, less than a Tetris behind, but the dirty board doesn't bode well for that. Alex Thatch knocks down a Tetris, and Joseph misses a pole vault with a line piece, a devastating misdrop. He's gonna do everything he can to set up some skims halfway up the board, and meanwhile, Alex Thatch is pouring it on the final levels. Has one little hole in the stack, but is gonna set up a skim to resolve it. Joseph, meanwhile, waiting it out and gets rewarded with a square to complete the skim. Doing an incredible job to stay alive in this match. He's down almost 3 Tetrises in pace though. It's gonna take some serious kill screen post 29 play to catch up. And speaking of which, Alex Thatch enters level 29 with a rock solid 100,000 pace lead, but he's not slowing down. He's continuing to survive, setting up a high stack on the right so he can throw ideal pieces towards the left for skims. Joseph is building dirty. He needs every last Tetris possible here. Gets one, but still nearly 200,000 points back. Has 2 more Tetrises available, gets one, but then gets gets an awful S-piece with no spot to build cleanly on his board. Just takes the burn into 29 for the max out. Meanwhile, Alex Thatch is on level 30. Joseph builds a dirty Tetris on 29, Tetris ready, needs the long bar, waiting out and can't get a square to the left and closes off the well. Joseph did everything he could. Great survival, went for the gutsy Tetris on 29, but Alex, in a phenomenal performance, throws up a 1.1 million to even things up at 1 game apiece. And Alex would go on to take the series and advance in an incredible upset. But Alex wasn't done for the day. Not by a long shot. Game 2, Nenu is already up in the series, but Alex has a max out on level 26 and an insane lead of 300,000 over 9 Tetrises. Nenu can make up about 3 of those with pace, but he's got a huge scraggly spire in the middle of his board and has to block as well with the square while Alex gets a Tetris. Nenu gets an incredible tuck with the T to stabilize the scraggle. After the flat J and the long bar, he's clean, but Alex is not letting up. Nenu doing everything he can to be efficient here with the center well. Now only 9.5 Tetrises behind. Alex still so clean, gets another Tetris. Nenu really gambling here as he has to, but he gets S and Z bursted and can't get a Z over to the left, and that's gonna end his game. Finishes with 750,000 points and is somehow 400,000 points behind. Alex is almost at 1.2 million and won't stop. He's got one more Tetris available before 29, just gonna build up for it. He doesn't have to burn, just waiting it out for one more long bar here, and there it is. Gets the 1.2 million into level 29. But he's not done. Skimming off the top, and he's Tetris ready. L to the left, gets a long bar for an extra Tetris. Setting up for his center well, gets a hole in his stack. No Tetris available, gonna have to take some burns and dig it down. And incredibly, he's getting Tetris ready again. L to the left, and Tetris down the center for 1.3 million. Breaking the all-time high scoring competition set by Cheese. And he's not even rolling. Now the question is, how high can he go? Alex is throwing stuff to the right, waiting for safe pieces like L's, J's, and squares to get all the way to the left. His options are really limited on these speeds, but he's dialed in. Crosses over into level 32. He's getting close to uncharted territory. It looks like he's gonna keep lining it out and misdrops. He has a hole in the center of his board now. He quickly shoves material to the side to try and set up birds to the center, and he's getting it done. The L's and squares are critical. They're the easiest pieces to get over to the left. Alex shoves pieces to the right, barely gets over a J to the left for a double, and he's dug it back down. But another misdrop with the T. Gets a square over, trying to dig in the center, burns with the L and gets a perfect L over for a double. Those are basically mini Tetrises for him. Misses a T to the left, and that's basically fatal. 5 high left is not practical for a hyper tapper, but Alex with a historic run. 1,356,000, a margin of 606,000, 16 Tetrises. Good enough for 6th on the all-time leaderboard, which includes people playing hundreds of games offline, specifically grinding for high scores, instead of trying to play for survival and competition. Alex has definitely made his mark. But surprisingly, he did not go on to win the set. Nenu advanced, taking games 3 and 5 after Alex topped out before level 29 both times. However, the semifinals craziness wasn't over. There was an encore. Pixel Andy has a 1-game lead on Corian in the set, and a huge 221,000 point lead towards the end of this game. Corian is actually much closer in pace, but has a horribly dangerous board that would take a miracle to dig out of. Corian flusters with a T at the top and gets an L over to the right for a critical burn. Incredibly is surviving. Up 12 rows high, he's playing B-type 19.5 in competition, and is continuing to dig out with singles. Meanwhile, Andy has gotten 1.1 million into level 29, gonna line out as long as he can. Gets his board down in a hurry. Meanwhile, Corian continuing to dig, but Andy is set up for the Tetris and gets an extra Tetris in the level 30. Just raking in the points at this point with a triple to boot. Corian is almost clean, almost at level 29. He can get clear in time, and he does it. Tetris ready, but double flips the long bar and can't get a level 29 Tetris. And meanwhile, Pixel Andy has set up for another Tetris into level 31. Corian finishes with 889,000, not even bad, but there's a 340,000 point margin. But Pixel Andy isn't done. He's continuing to dig down, making perfect placements. The risk management couldn't be better. How far is he gonna take this? Corian just looking on and smiling. Andy getting the L and the square over to the left, burning in the center, airtight with the J over to the left. How much longer can this keep up? If he's going for world records, it might be worth it to go for Tetrises. He nails a tuck, might be setting up for a center well, into level 33, is almost Tetris ready, has to burn, just decides to play it safe, but changes his mind. He's going for it. Builds up the left and right, super jagged board. It's Tetris or or death, barely gets an S over, and gets the long bar for the Tetris and 1.3 million, increasing his Tetris rate on the kill screen, and burns into level 34. These are perfect moves to the left, and suddenly he hangs a long bar, gets one more single, misses a long bar 6 high right to keep the run alive. Pixelandia is done, but he sets a new personal best, and crazily, he would have set the competition world record if his semifinals match had been scheduled before Alex's. But he did set a new world record for highest score ever past level 29 in a game with 183,640. That's 2 huge world records set in competition in less than an hour. And do I gotta say it for this game as well, he wasn't even rolling. He was teetering on the edge of game-ending misdrops the entire time. Absolutely nuts. Unlike Alex though, Andy does go on to advance and get out of the semifinals to face Nenu in a final showdown. This finals match started out slowly, but turned into a classic. Nenu topped out early in Game 1 and Game 2 to give Andy a commanding 2-0 game lead, but then stormed back to win Games 3 and 4 to set up a decider. At the end of Game 5, Andy is already maxed out with a 1.5 Tetris score lead and more than 3 Tetris pace lead. If he coasts, he has this in the bag, and all Nenu can do is try and play as perfect as possible. Andy's Tetris ready, waiting for the long bar, takes a double. Nenu now Tetris ready. Andy has to take a few more burns, and that actually eats quite a bit into his pace lead, but it was a smart decision. His board was getting high. Nenu with the last second adjustment gets another Tetris and is now less than a Tetris behind, and he finally gets another Tetris, but he's still having to burn. Nenu takes another skim and another burn for Andy, down to a 1 Tetris pace lead. Nenu getting really high and gets another clean Tetris, but Andy gets another one and enters level 29, and Nenu gets a Tetris and is now less than a Tetris behind, gets Tetris ready and misses a long bar to the right that would have retaken the lead, but Andy incredibly is still going again. Singling down, enters level 30, gonna try for another long run, digs down but misdrops with an S to the left. That left chasm is gonna do it, but is done enough with over 1.1 million to earn his first ever Classic Tetris Monthly Masters event title. As always, I interviewed both the finalists. Pixel Andy, thanks so much for coming on after your first ever CTM main event victory. Did you have a favorite match from this tournament?
You know, obviously I got the 1.3 against Corian, but I think my favorite match was actually the last game against Nenu, because, you know, it was a double max out, almost double 1.1. It was really intense.
Yeah, so you've now played in probably 2 of the highest stakes games in recent memory, because deciders in the finals aren't that common, and you played in one in the CTWC 2020 and now one in the CTM. How did you mentally prepare for that Game 5 versus Nenu? Was there anything that helped you like calm your nerves and perform at your absolute best? Because you had an amazing game.
I mean, I wouldn't say there was anything to calm me. I just tried to, you know, focus. You know, I turned the commentary down a little so I could really just get in the groove.
So in your 1.3 versus Corian, did you realize that you were setting a post world record while you were going?
It wasn't until after I won Masters that I actually found out that I got post world record. So that didn't even come into my mind. I think I was really in the zone there. I was tapping super fast, so I kind of just forgot that I was playing in a match. Plus, you know, Corian had already topped out, so I was just playing.
So actually, yeah, your tapping is something that has developed in your games over the past year, because when I first covered you in my first CTM recap where you made the semifinals, you were still considered a pure DAS player. And now, not only are you a tapper, you're one of the most proficient kill screen players in the world. So how did tapping enter your play style?
Okay, so it was mainly whenever Dog, you know, my brother, started tapping and started getting 1.3s, and I was like, I can't do this with DAS, right? So yeah, it was just like this rivalry, you know, if DAS or tap was better, but then there's so many advantages with tapping that DAS wasn't even viable anymore. So that's why I had to start tapping, you know. Dog taught me how to tap as well.
So you have like the same grip as him for tapping?
Well, he's right-handed and I'm left-handed. So it's basically the same grip, but left-handed.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on in an interview, and good luck in all your future tournaments. I'm looking forward to seeing you play again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Did you have a favorite game from this month?
Yeah, I think I had a few close game with Dodge. It was a great match, but I think I will go with my last game against Andy. It was decider in the final, so the pressure was there. And CTWC semifinals rematch too.
Yeah, it was really cool to see you guys get to face each other again. And especially in your match versus Doge, at the end of game 2, it came down to the wire. You needed a final Tetris right as you got to the kill screen in order to win. Did you know in your mind how close it was at the time? Were you expecting to win that game?
I think from what I know, we were so close in score the whole post runs, but I can't really tell the pace difference because of the delay. I think Dodge had about one Tetris lead at the end of the game, but after I did dumb L placement in 26 to get Tetris ready, I knew that I had pretty low chance to win unless Dodge misdrop or get bad RNG or something somehow. Because my board was in a mess, I had to burn few lines because of that. But yeah, luckily I managed to win the game.
Yeah, it was awesome. You had a rough road to the finals because you also had to face Alex Thatch, who got a 1.35 million score. How did it affect how you went about going for pace in those next games?
Yeah, that game was crazy. Alex kill screenplay was just so amazing. And yeah, it did affect me. I felt like I need to increase my efficiency on early level because I can't really score at 29 that well like other tappers because I am slower tapper than them. Because you know, when you face a good kill screen player, they can chase your score in the kill screen easily. But yeah, luckily again, I managed to win.
So you're in a bit of a different position from a lot of the regular players in CTM because you're in Indonesia. So at what time for you are the CTMs starting?
CTMs for the last few months, I think starts on 3 a.m. my time.
For those weekends, do you stay up really late to play or do you go to sleep early? Do you have to like rearrange your whole sleep schedule every month?
Basically, I am a morning person, so I just get up very early usually. I don't need to rearrange my sleep schedule that different. I just need to sleep 3 hours earlier from my usual sleep schedule before CTM starts. It is gambling though. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There was one day I only had like 2 hours sleep before CTM and I was playing really bad. I like misdrop everywhere.
Well, it's incredible what you're able to do. You're always a consistent challenger to win CTM. So it was great to see you back in the finals. It's great to see you every month. And thanks so much for the interview. And I hope to see you again next month too.
Thanks.
Overall, it's really exciting to me to see that world records can still be broken, not just by raw speed, but by really, really good stacking fundamentals and risk management. And that no matter how high someone can score, someone who is consistent will always have a chance. I feel like there couldn't be a better time to be following the scene, and there's so many videos I want to make on the horizon. I want to just get right back into the next one. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.